Welcome back. My nails are long. Coom room. Did some coomin. We got a new coom towel over there. I don't know. So Isekai, we all know what it is at this point. Guy gets transported to another world, usually via truck, and lives out his power fantasy. Well, that's usually how it goes. Typically, our main characters are people just like you and me. Worthless pieces of shit who don't do anything except stay in their room and fap to anime girls. But instead of the relatable waste of space, we have managed to get an isekai manga with a being who rivals Asian deities, Mephisto, and even God himself. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's none other than Vladimir Putin. You heard that right. Someone made a manga about Putin getting isekai. Well, the author did change his name to Puchinov Alexander, but it's fucking Putin. So, what's the gimmick of this manga? What makes it stand out aside from the main character being this sex icon? Well, the thing about Putin in this manga is that he really likes to ride on things. Hence the name, Ride On King. With that out of the way, let's get to the main part of this video. This entire video will basically be my reaction and a very poor summary of the first 14.5 chapters. Enjoy. The first chapter is just an introduction to Putin. I'm not going to call him Puchinov or Alexander. And all of his achievements. But I skipped all of that. All you need to know is that 3 trucks tried to kill him, but even they couldn't do it. Putin literally picked up a truck and flipped it. The only reason why he got isekai'd is because he wasn't paying attention and the head of his statue fell and seemingly crushed him. So he gets sent to another world, obviously. Sees a dragon and thinks it's fake. Spots 2 waifus and proceeds to beat the fucking dragon. Not only that, but when he got on the dragon and kinda rode it, he awakened something inside himself. I'm sure he busted nut after that 100%. So Putin tells the girls that he got isekai'd and they all see his giant statue head and think that he's some sort of demonic god. In this manga, people saying Putin looks like a demonic god worshipper or just looks scary is actually a running joke. It happens quite often. One thing I have noticed is that he always has his hands in his pockets. And for some reason, it just brings out this intimidating aura. Especially this panel where he's looking back at the other 2 characters. After they go back outside after some talking, Putin makes this wonderful expression when he sees this fluffy creature. Obviously because he wanted to ride it. And look at these girls' smug faces. They're great. 3 hours go by and holy shit, it's shirtless Putin. I'm about to bust a fat one. Look how fucking ripped he is. They enter the city and another evil man joke is made after they explain magic to Putin. The night girl tells him to try to cast some magic into a magic stone in order to create some light within the lamp. He does a karate move and we get a nice close-up of his abs. Did I mention he does karate? I don't think I did. Basically, he's really good at martial arts. Night Girl gets knocked out because of how strong of a light Putin produced and went to get some healing. In this world, it seems that healing potions are rather addictive and our witch girl is actually addicted to them. After the Night Girl wakes up, she tells Putin that he needs to repay them. He can do this by either being sold off as a slave or become an adventurer. Obviously, he took the adventurer route. They do the bit again of people thinking he's an evil god worshipper or whatever, and I honestly found this scene to be pretty funny. I think it's because of how nonchalant the clerk was. After they finish their registration, they see a group of knights in the middle of the city with some kidnapped centaurs. I'm not going to show the scene this time because I have no idea what YouTube's going to treat me if I do. It's not anything that bad, but it's just some centaur kids tied up, but I'm not taking my chances with this one. While kidnapped kids are bad, Putin had other things in mind, such as the fact that the knight leader was riding a centaur and Putin was hella jealous about it. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think he would save the centaur kids. I thought he was just gonna let them be and try to find a way to ride the centaur. But I was wrong. He ran to get them after another centaur named Marceros went in. He said he didn't want to kill people despite the night he knocked out seeing his face. His reason was that he finally got away from the world of daily killing and deception. But he is in the fantasy world, so that reason doesn't really make much sense. Marceros gives Putin this bracelet and the centaurs leave. When Putin returns to the Adventurers Guild, it turns out that the bracelet has mithril and is pretty valuable. To quickly explain what mithril is to people who actually go outside, mithril is basically one of the best ores in a fantasy world. Usually it's either because it can contain a lot of magic or it's just really hard or both. Back to the story. The girls see this as a way to get rich and figure out that the location they need to go in order to get rich is probably near the centaur village. But Putin being Putin, he saw this as a way to live his fantasy of riding a centaur come true. Despite the small amount of money they have, they decide to give Putin some equipment. This scene that I found was pretty funny, where the night girl asked him what his main weapon was, and Putin replied that it was an AK-47, but cut himself off saying that it was his bare hands instead. After they get their gear and the explanation of Mithril, we get a group shot of what the cast has. We got the dagger that I have no idea where it's placed, the secondhand boots, the waist, and the brand name Hochi backpack. The whole squad got it. But you may be asking, but Gunvald, why doesn't Putin have a shirt? It's fucking Putin. He doesn't need a shirt. Look at those abs. They rival Chris Hemsworth's. And we all know that every guy would gladly get their back blown out by Chris Hemsworth, right? I'm not the only one with this, right? Remember how I said that Putin didn't want to kill? Seems like there are exceptions. A lot of exceptions. Like when he split a goblin in half by kicking it. I'm not gonna show the panel in case Daddy YouTube tries to fuck me. Anyways, they find out that the bracelet has some text on it. Turns out that they have to go through a location filled with orcs. As soon as that explanation is over, we switch perspectives and witness some elves that were kidnapped by orcs. Lolly runs away, and because of that, our main cast and the orcs manage to meet up and eventually fight. So let me show you the speech bubble. Let's make sashimi out of his balls. Yes, I found that funny. And yes, I have a mind of a child. Continuing on, Putin weaves through an axe and uses a move called the presidential style axe guillotine. Putin kills another orc, and another couple of orcs say, "A demon's familiar, huh? The one who eats your balls while you're still alive." The orcs are running, and this guy yells out, "Anything but my balls." Yes, I found that joke funny. Yes, I made the joke again. Fuck you. The first orc comes back, and Putin does another presidential style move on it. And so the Putin harem grows larger with an addition of an elf lolly. So the whole harem is here, and they finally get to take a break. The elf lolly shows Putin how she can create objects out of wood. There's more complicated stuff, but I don't want to bother explaining it. So the night goes by, and a group of bandits who are allied with the knight's leader, as in the knight leader who had the centaur slaves, are planning out how they're going to kill Putin and the other girls. An arrow gets shot in front of everyone, and the two girls we first met are terrified as they realize that they're surrounded. But Putin remains calm. Putin assesses his surroundings and notices that the criminals are using child slaves to fight for them and are using enslavement collars on the wolf. With that, our fight begins. Despite their sheer numbers, they are no match for our group. Suddenly, the enslaved wolf attacks and bites down on Putin, but this absolute chad of a man doesn't even care. He's just standing there, telling them to do something. Anyways, the fight ends, they remove the collar, and the wolf kills that fucking bandit leader criminal guy. I'm getting tired of explaining anything, so I'll try to keep things short this time. Putin is trying to figure out what to do with the kids. The big wolf is like, "Shit, I'll take them if you got nowhere else to go." And the kid says her village is nearby, so all of these orphan slaves can stay there. They get there and notice that the village got fucked because of a monster attack. At first, it seems like everyone died, but luckily the elderly managed to survive due to having low magic. They start thanking Putin, the wolf, and the villagers ask if the wolf can beat their deity. So the wolf fucking Pokemon evolves into a fancier wolf. Also, the actual name of the wolf creature is White Garm, which is what I'll be calling it now. It also turns out the White Garm is a tsundere. I fucking hate tsunderes. A bear who was the former lord of the mountain that the village resides on attacks, and Putin gets all excited and throws the bear onto the ground and proceeds to ride him. Can we get some bear x Putin hentai? The wolf, now being referred to as Queen, wants to kill it, but Putin tells her that he can prove the giant bear is tame by making it dig a large trench around the village. Also, a dungeon appears, and that's why the giant bear attacked, and is also the reason why the village was attacked. From here, Putin is basically trying to keep the village safe. He has the elf lolly make a modern crossbow so that the kids can use it since they don't have much to protect themselves with. Initially, she wasn't sure of how to make it, but with the power of the horny stick, she managed to do it. A week goes by, and now Putin has an army full of child soldiers. Trust me, it's for the sake of the kids. He also basically becomes chief of the village. After they finish that, they decide to head to the dungeon. But before we get to see their adventure, we cut to Marceros fighting off some knights. He spots Putin's village, and suddenly the White Garm appears. Back to our main cast. They enter the dungeon, fight off some mobs, then the main event appears. It's a spooky skeleton guy with his chimera, and he's like, fuck you or something. I don't know. Honestly, I just skipped the whole text dialogue stuff. I didn't really care about it. But one important thing to note is that he was able to harm our Lord and Savior Putin. As Putin gets back up from the attack, he heals his comrades and prepares for a battle. The chimera, that's a zombie dragon, attacks. Putin tries to throw it but fails. As he's knocked to the wall, he remembers something his sensei once told him. It was about how he needs to use the land's power to his advantage. With that, Putin grabs a zombie dragon and fucking throws it. Putin can't be stopped. He picks up the dragon again. And what's this? A fucking presidential technique. The way of the president. Reverse dragon screw. He's too powerful. Chapter 9 starts when Marcero's with the White Garm talking. We cut to a scene where the Knight Leader is attacking centaurs and we're introduced to this new guy named Calvin. Just by a look at him, it's clear that he's some sort of wizard that totally doesn't look like the type of guy to betray his comrades and someone who is in evil. Fuck you, Calvin. You stole my Pokemon cards in 4th grade. So the surviving centaurs are given a letter from Putin's bear, and Marceros and the White Garm are fighting off more enemy soldiers. They are then attacked by the Knight Leader and fucking Calvin. Fuck you, Calvin. But they manage to escape. The White Garm informs Marceros that the village head, Putin, might be able to deal with anything coming their way. Then we cut to Putin either dead or knocked out on the ground. Chapter 10 is when we get mystical with this type of stuff. Chapter 10 has Putin fantasizing about riding a dragon. I'm not gonna say anything else to expand on that. He wakes up and he is met by the Beast King and the zombie dragon that he killed. The Beast King gives him a crown and a dagger and begins to explain things that I just skipped. I honestly didn't care once again. But the one thing that the Beast King did mention is that from now on, Putin is the Beast King. They head out and they notice that their village is being attacked by the knights. Putin's bear appears out of nowhere and quickly brings them into the village. Putin sees that they are losing. Calvin notices that our witch girl isn't ordinary. The chapter ends with a cliffhanger about how the witch girl is a runaway and fucking Calvin. It's from a place called Tower. Then she opens her hatch, showing us a bunch of miniature stuff, saying that those small things might help. Now here comes the explanation. I believe that these next few chapters are very dialogue heavy, but I can't quite remember. Apparently the witch girl's from this place called Tower, and because of this overpowered magic she created that she based off of an old story, the magicians from Tower are after her, and this is why she's on the run. She ran into the night girl, who was also on the run because she was a noble and didn't consent to this arranged marriage. So what is the magic that she wields that is so powerful? They're just magic pin particles. And for you who didn't read the comics or haven't seen the Ant-Man movie, then let me explain. Pin particles are able to make things change their size, though her magic isn't able to affect humans and other living things. Why is it so powerful? If you're able to drag around 800 tanks the size of Hot Wheels and then turn them back into their original size, then you'll have a major advantage. So the group does some talking and Putin's like, let me negotiate. The group was hesitant at first, but Putin was like, nah, I got this. A bit of time goes by and we see Putin pull up in a business suit. The Knight Leader also pulls up and they start talking. The one important thing that you need to know from this conversation is that Putin plans on turning this village into a country. Obviously the Knight Leader doesn't think Putin's worth shit, but her troops start getting attacked by a giant crossbow and panic on her side ensues. Fucking Calvin thinks he could do something with fancy magic, but Putin pulls out a fucking log and starts shooting this guy. You heard that right, Putin stays trapped. Calvin gets shot in the head, and just look at this panel. Putin stays sexy. So chapter 12, at this point in the story, Putin says his demands and the knights start yelling out their racist shit, but they know that they're fucked. But the multi-girl, the leader of the knights, if you forgot, I just call her multi-girl because she's just multi of the she's just the multi of the story. Tries a surprise attack, but Chad Putin over here takes his shirt off and strides forward. She used her centaur sleeve as another surprise attack, but that doesn't work either. So she tries to tag team Putin. Marceros comes down from the mountain he was on and decides to help Putin out, though he still wouldn't let Putin ride him because he isn't the king of beasts. Fucking bitch. But if you remember what I said earlier, then you'll remember that the former king of beasts gave him a crown, which turns out to be proof of being the beast king. And this crown fucking comes out of Putin's chest, and then Marceros calls him king. But Putin kneels down and says he isn't a lord or a king. He wants everyone to be one. He wants everyone to be friends. Respect for Putin for that. He's keeping it real for us. As Putin gets on the centaur's back in a very manly way, a light appears from behind and everyone gets blinded. With the power of the Beast King's crown and the power of friendship, Putin, the president of Russia, the chief of this newly found village, comes the birth of Perseros, a combination of Putin and Marceros. And now, Putin's sad because he didn't get to ride on the centaur. Alright, now look at this panel. Look at Putin's face. They're so manly. Anyways, y'all thought it was over, didn't you? Now the combined bodies of Marceros and Putin begin to fight, but Putin feels a bit off when fighting. That's because of his new form. Unfamiliar with having 4 legs, Putin is having a bit of a hard time. But fear not, in this mystical space, we see Putin and Marceros talking to each other, trying to help each other out. Marceros tells Putin to leave things to him for a moment. They begin to change once again, and Maltinos is born. Is that even how you say his name? I'm not sure. As they're fighting, their form changes once again, and Putin gets the hang of having 4 legs. Their form changes again, no fancy name this time, and Putin gets the upper hand. Look at Putin's mane. No, shit looks nice. No, I'm not gay for Centaur Putin, I swear. All fights must come to an end. And how does Putin end this punch? You know it had to be with the presidential style centaur straight. So the centaur slave that was with the knight leader takes his slave collar off, picks up the knight leader, and runs off. Now for some important information. An old lady shows up and says that she's proof of a centaur's sins. What is this centaur sin? Well, it was when the centaur's home was destroyed. They fled, but the land they ended up on was sterile. Since centaurs have a large body, they need a lot of food in order to survive. So how did they solve this? If you recall, young centaurs have these premature legs sticking out of their stomach. Those legs don't have any use, so they'll keep standing on 2 feet until the rest of the body grows. But if they were to cut those 2 legs before they mature, then they'll continue to stand on 2 legs. In turn, they only need the same amount of food as humans. This is how many of them managed to survive on a barren land. These centaurs were called satyrs. I think that's how you say it. Though not everyone did that. Apparently, it was only those of low social standing. These 2-legged centaurs were treated as slaves among even the centaurs. Despite that, there were satyrs who gave birth. And just like their parents, those children had 2 legs. But based on this piece of dialogue from the old lady, the previous Beast King treated them as equals. But some centaurs disagreed with him, and those centaurs headed south. Even now, satyrs are treated as slaves. Now the fight is over with Putin and the knight leader. So why was that entire centaur, slave, satyr, 2 legs so important? Well, it turns out that our multi-girl of this story is a satyr herself, and has been hiding her lower half with armor given to her by some dwarves. I can't show the full image because YouTube, but if you're looking at the same thing that I'm seeing, then let's be honest, I'd fuck a horse girl. Alright, so that's that. That's my reaction and half-assed kinda summary of chapters 1 to 14.5. Of Ride On King, and what I call the Putin Isekai. I was originally going to talk about chapters 15 and 16, and as well as the last half of 14, but I just want to finish this video. This manga is honestly pretty good. Putin's rip, I want to fuck a horse girl, and honestly, I just want to fuck a horse girl. Is that so hard to ask for? Let me fuck a horse girl.